Scary telling.
I'll never forget the day we received the message. I was working at NASA, analyzing data from the Webb telescope when my colleague burst into my office looking pale and shaken. "Have you seen this?" he asked, thrusting a piece of paper at me. I took it from him and scanned the page. It was a message unlike anything we had ever seen before. It had been sent from the SMACS 0723 galaxy cluster, which we had recently photographed in great detail. The message was faint and broad spectrum, and we had no idea what it meant. I spent the next few days working with my team to decipher the message. We used every known combination of high-level decryption technology the world had to offer, but nothing seemed to work. It was as if the message had been written in a hitherto unknown format. As the days passed, we became increasingly frustrated. We knew that the world was waiting for us to decipher the message, but we couldn't do it. That's when we turned to a new technology developed at DARPA. It was a long shot, but we were desperate. And then, finally, a breakthrough. The message was converted and translated, and we could read it. But what it said was chilling. "Please, be silent. You are looking where they can see you. They will come. We won't be able to stop them this time. Please, be silent." I'll never forget the feeling of fear that washed over me as I read those words. It was like nothing I had ever experienced before. We knew that we had to act fast, but we didn't know what to do. How do you prepare for something like this? How do you warn the world without causing panic? We kept the message under wraps, but rumors began to circulate anyway. Conspiracy theorists had a field day, and people began to speculate about what the message meant. We denied the existence of the message, but it was no use. The word was out. As the days turned into weeks, the fear began to spread. We knew that we had to come up with a plan, but we had no idea what to do. We were out of our depth, and we knew it. But we couldn't give up. We had to keep trying. Looking back, I wish we had never seen that message. It was the beginning of the end, and we were powerless to stop it. The day after we decrypted the message, I woke up to a barrage of calls and messages on my phone. I knew immediately that the message had leaked, despite our best efforts to keep it under wraps. Panic had already set in, and there was nothing we could do to stop it. My team and I tried to focus on our work, but it was impossible. The news was everywhere, on TV, on social media, in the newspapers. Everyone was talking about the message from the SMACS 0723 galaxy cluster. Everyone was afraid. We knew that we had to come up with a plan, but we didn't know where to start. We couldn't just tell the world that aliens were coming to destroy us. That would cause mass panic. But we couldn't stay silent either. We had to warn people somehow. Our first step was to deny the existence of the message. We issued a statement saying that it was a hoax, a prank. But that only fueled the rumors. People began to suspect that the government was hiding something. They started to demand answers. We held a press conference, hoping to reassure people that everything was under control. But as soon as we opened the floor to questions, it was clear that things were spiraling out of control. Journalists bombarded us with questions. What did the message mean? Were we in danger? Why hadn't we told the public sooner? I could see the fear in their eyes. They knew something was wrong, and they wanted answers. But we didn't have any. We were just as clueless as they were. As the days turned into weeks, the situation only got worse. People were starting to stockpile food and supplies, just in case. There were reports of mass hysteria in some parts of the world. It was like the whole planet was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. My team and I continued to work on the message, hoping to find something that would give us a clue as to what was coming. But it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. The message was so cryptic, so vague. We had no idea what we were dealing with. Looking back, I wish we had done something differently. I wish we had been more transparent with the public, even if it meant causing panic. Maybe then, we could have come up with a plan before it was too late. But at the time, it felt like we were stuck between a rock and a hard place. We didn't want to cause unnecessary fear, but we couldn't stay silent either. It was a lose-lose situation. Despite our best efforts to keep the message under wraps, word began to leak out to the public. Panic and fear began to spread like wildfire. People were stockpiling supplies and making plans for what to do if the worst happened. It was chaos. But the worst was yet to come. One day, while I was working late in the lab, I heard a strange noise. It was faint at first, like static on a radio, but it grew louder and louder until it was all I could hear. I looked around, but there was no one else in the room with me. And then I heard a voice. It was garbled, distorted, but I could make out some of the words. "You are looking where they can see you," it said. "They will come. We won't be able to stop them this time. Please, be silent." I froze. It was the same message we had received from the SMACS 0723 galaxy cluster. But how was it possible? The message had been in a format that was hitherto unknown. No one could have decrypted it. And then I saw them. The visitors. They were like nothing I had ever seen before. Their technology was far beyond anything we had ever imagined. They moved with a fluid grace that was almost mesmerizing. I tried to run, but it was too late. They had already seen me. They descended upon me like a swarm of bees, and I felt myself being lifted off the ground. The next thing I knew, I was in a strange room. It was dimly lit, and there was a faint humming noise in the background. I tried to move, but I was restrained. I looked around, but there was no one else in the room with me. And then I heard the voice again. "We have been watching you," it said. "We have been waiting for you. You are our next experiment." I felt a chill run down my spine. What did they mean by experiment? What were they going to do to me? I tried to struggle, but the restraints held me in place. And then, slowly, the visitors began to approach. They were like nothing I had ever seen before. Their skin was a sickly green, and their eyes glowed in the dim light. They moved with an unnatural grace, and their technology was far beyond anything we had ever imagined. I knew then that we were in trouble. We had looked where they could see us, and now they were coming. There was nothing we could do to stop them. It was the end of the world as we knew it. It all happened so fast. One moment, we were trying to decipher the message from the SMACS 0723 galaxy cluster. The next, we were under attack by the visitors. Their technology was beyond anything we had ever seen. They moved with an unnatural grace, and their weapons were like nothing we had ever imagined. We tried to fight back, but it was like throwing stones at a tank. We were defenseless. The visitors seemed to be on a mission of destruction. They moved swiftly and methodically, wiping out everything in their path. People ran for cover, but it was no use. The visitors' technology was too advanced. They could track us anywhere, and there was nowhere to hide. As the days turned into weeks, the world descended into chaos. The visitors continued to advance, destroying everything in their path. We had no idea what they wanted or why they were doing this. All we knew was that it was the end of the world as we knew it. The few attempts to fight back were quickly quashed. The visitors seemed to anticipate our every move, and their technology was always one step ahead. We were like ants trying to fight a giant. It was hopeless. In the end, we could only watch as the visitors destroyed everything we had ever known. Cities fell like dominoes, and entire countries were wiped off the map. The sky turned black with smoke, and the ground shook with every explosion. I'll never forget the day that my team and I were captured. We were in the middle of trying to come up with a plan when the visitors appeared out of nowhere. We tried to run, but it was no use. They were too fast, too strong. They took us to a strange room where they subjected us to all manner of experiments. They probed us, scanned us, and tested us in ways that I can't even begin to describe. It was like something out of a nightmare. And then, one day, they simply let us go. They dumped us on the side of the road, battered and bruised, but alive. It was like they had lost interest in us. Like we were nothing more than lab rats to them. We stumbled back to what was left of our lab, hoping against hope that we could find some way to stop the visitors. But it was too late. They had already won. The world was theirs now, and there was nothing we could do to stop them. Looking back, I wish we had never received that message from this MAX 0723 galaxy cluster. Maybe then, we would have never looked where they could see us. Maybe then, we would have had a chance. But in the end, it was all for nothing. The visitors had come, and they had won. The end of the world was upon us. The world as we knew it was gone. The visitors had destroyed everything in their path, leaving nothing but ruins in their wake. It was like something out of a nightmare. My team and I were among the lucky ones. We had been captured and subjected to experiments, but we had survived. We were battered and bruised, but we were alive. We wandered the desolate landscape, looking for other survivors. But there were few to be found. The visitors had taken no prisoners, and their technology had been too advanced for us to fight back. As we traveled, we began to see signs of life. Small communities had sprung up, built on the ruins of the old world. People were trying to survive, in whatever way they could. But it was a hard life. Resources were scarce, and the world was dangerous. The visitors were still out there, somewhere, and no one knew when they might strike again. As we traveled, we began to hear rumors. Rumors of a resistance, of people who were trying to fight back against the visitors. At first, we were skeptical. How could anyone fight back against such advanced technology? But as we heard more and more stories, we began to wonder. And then, one day, we found them. The Resistance. They were a ragtag group of survivors, but they were fierce. They had weapons, and they had a plan. At first, we were hesitant to join them. We had seen what the visitors were capable of. We knew that it was dangerous to even think about fighting back. But as we talked to the Resistance, we began to feel a glimmer of hope. They had a plan, they said. A way to disable the visitors' technology to level the playing field. It was a long shot, but it was all we had. And so we joined them. We trained with them, learned their ways. We prepared for the battle of our lives. And then, one day, the visitors returned. They came in force, their weapons blazing. But we were ready for them. We fought back, with everything we had. The battle was fierce, but in the end, we emerged victorious. We had done the impossible. We had fought back against the visitors, and we had won. The aftermath was a blur. We worked to rebuild what was left of the world, to create a new future from the ashes of the old. It was a hard life, but it was a life worth living. Looking back, I realized that we were lucky. We were lucky to survive, lucky to find the Resistance, lucky to fight back against the visitors. But in the end, it wasn't luck that saved us. It was hope. The hope that we could create a better world, even in the face of impossible odds.